You are currently watching part 2 of a 2-part series of videos covering the Darkin. If you haven't already, check out part 1 right here. I hear it's a good watch, and I'm not just saying that because I'm the creator. Who's the Darkin here, huh? Is it you? You? I know it's not you. I bet you're one of them, you small furry housebound motherfucker. Hello, my people. Since the last video, I've been trying to figure out who the identity of the remaining Darkin are, and I think I have an answer for you guys. But I'm not entirely confident with part of my answer, and I'll be sure to let you know which part specifically. You know, transparency and whatnot. So to recap from the last video, my addition to the Darkin theory is that Aatrox has been trying to revive the remaining Darkin spirits by fighting in wars all throughout the history of Runeterra, specifically focusing on Shurima, Ionia, Noxus, Demacia, and Freljord. 5 areas for 5 Darkin. This is assuming that bloodlust, bloodshed, blood from war, all of it, fuels the Darkin spirit. Once the Darkin spirit is revived, it latches onto a host vessel and releases the vessel from its inhibitions by lowering activity in the orbital frontal cortex, then granting the vessel power to carry out their bloodlust, thus fueling the spirit so that it can completely take over the body. So that's the gist of my theory, and I promised I would try to figure out who the remaining Darkin are for you guys, so let's get to it, starting with the 3 candidates that were already proposed in Tedster's theory. I'll go through them quickly because I covered them in the last video, and I'm really excited to get to my part of the theory, so yeah, let's get through this. First up is Varus. Varus was corrupted by the Pit of Pallas, a pit of dark flame energy that was known for corrupting the mind of anyone who fell prey to it. This pit gave him new powers which he set out to use for revenge on the Noxian invaders that destroyed his home. This falls in line with the theory. Corrupted, new power, bloodlust for Noxian soldiers. So the Pit of Pallas could be the Ionian Darkin spirit trapped within the pit. Also, out of the 5 Darkin, 3 are known to history, which includes Aatrox. It could be that the Darkin spirit is instead remembered throughout history as the Pit of Pallas, perhaps because the Ionians were not aware of what a Darkin is, thus giving it a new name. Also, Varus looks like he's slowly being consumed by something. Those are not frilly purple pants and gloves he's wearing. That, my people, is bound to his skin.
I'm on borrowed time.
Borrowed time, Varus? As in, you only have so much time until your body and mind are lost to the Darkin spirit? Keegan Road. I'm sorry, you go by Brand now. Brand is similar to Varus in that he was born from a flame that engulfed and corrupted Keegan Road. After taking over Keegan, Brand sought to destroy everything in the world. Brand could be the Freljordian Darkin spirit because of this line in his lore. Trekking across the frozen waste, they came to a cave covered in ancient ruins. The only known frozen area of Runeterra is Freljord. Now I know what you guys are thinking. What about Tryndamere? I'll get into that soon, but in short, I don't believe Tryndamere is another Darkin. Now, hold on to that as I get back to Brand. If Brand is a Darkin, then he would be one of the more powerful ones because the transformation was instant. Varus still retains his memories and control over his body. Well, for the most part. Brand, however, completely took over Keegan at once, with probably the only remnant being his pants. Also, his lore states that he is most likely a product of the Rune Wars, which fits into the theory about being a spirit revived by bloodshed of war.
Forged in pain.
Jax is tricky, because his role in this stems from practically making assumptions from just one piece of evidence, the fact that Aatrox was included in Jax's splash art. The potential for this being someone else will of course always remain, but for the sake of the theory, we're sticking with this being Aatrox. This bit of evidence has led people to theorize that Jax was a mage lord that fought against the protectorates long ago due to there being some magic in his kit, and that perhaps he was infused with a Darkin spirit after the war. But from what region is this Darkin spirit from? Well, call me crazy, which you probably already did in my last video, but I think Jax could have the Demacian Darkin spirit. It's a stretch. Personally, I think including Jax in here is already a stretch. But if Jax is a mage lord, then it could be possible that he absorbed the Darkin spirit in the area before it was known as Demacia, since the Mage Lord and Protectorate War is one of the oldest wars in Runeterra history. However, if Jax does have a Darkin spirit, then either that spirit is one of the weakest, or Jax is so powerful that he has been able to prolong the mental corruption. something I'd expect from a Mage Lord. Admittedly, this is one huge stretch. Like, Luffy can't comprehend this level of stretchiness, but it's the best I can do to help out Reddit tester's proposal. I want to believe it's Jax too, but until Riot updates his lore, we're just left to make huge speculations.
Who wants a piece of the champ?
Alright, time for something new. My addition to the theory. Now, I propose that the Noxian Darkin spirit is within Sion. Not surprisingly, I wasn't the only one that thought of this. I found forum posts discussing the topic back when Sion was reworked with an expansion to his lore. However, these people were examining Sion while he was alive. My theory is that Sion was actually used as a vessel for the Darkin spirit on purpose during his resurrection. It'd be a whole lot easier for a Darkin spirit to overtake Sion's undead body since Sion no longer has the same level of control he had while he was alive. But you might be wondering, how would this be possible? Well, hear me out. By fighting in multiple wars, Aatrox has been able to gain a following from several different factions. His work earned him dedicated devotees from various factions across history, being heralded as a hero to many of them. Now, allow me to introduce you to the Black Rose. The Black Rose is an ancient organization of people well versed in magic that is believed to have existed even before Noxus, and is now led by Yvain under the title of LeBlanc. An ancient organization that I'm willing to bet has some connection to Aatrox. We don't know the exact age of the organization, but if it has existed before Noxus, they must have come across Aatrox eventually. After all, Aatrox was, working in the area for some time. Perhaps the Black Rose, after witnessing Aatrox's power, became one of the many factions that devoted themselves to Aatrox. Why do I say this? Well, from what we know about the Black Rose, which isn't much, the Black Rose seemed to have a desire for power. It was widely believed that the Black Rose was the true power behind the throne while the aristocracy still reigned in Noxus. If this is true, then they have experienced control over a nation before the leadership changed, but then they just vanished. When raw martial prowess became the ultimate determination of whose will held sway in the Empire, the Black Rose seemed to vanish overnight. Is it too much of a stretch to assume that they would want control again? Not at all. For starters, it is known that they sought dominance. Many believe that perhaps their time had simply passed, and that its members had put aside their quest for social and political dominance. You can't make this statement unless you're certain that social and political dominance was in their agenda. Swain also comments on their attempts at control. We've come full circle. A grand general in need of a champion, the Black Rose seeking to wind its roots further into high command, and a fallen warrior starved of battle. Swain is friends with LeBlanc, so his testimony can be trusted. Lastly, just look at what LeBlanc says when you choose her.
The Black Rose shall bloom once more.
Clearly, the Black Rose is attempting to regain their control, so it would only make sense for them to align themselves with a powerful and immortal figure like Aatrox. After all, this wouldn't be the first time they kept in touch with powerful figureheads. LeBlanc has maintained a relationship with the Grand Generals of Noxus, specifically General Darkwill while he was still alive, and now General Swain. If the Black Rose likes to keep in touch with people as powerful as the Grand General of Noxus, then I don't think it's a stretch to assume that they would align themselves with Aatrox. But what would Aatrox benefit from this alliance? Well, the Black Rose aren't your everyday secret society. These are powerful magicians who have been honing their craft in secret for years. Many of its members are well versed in the discipline of magic, particularly in dark magic. This guild of powerful magicians met in secret to further their hidden agenda, and to hone a craft more subtle than that preferred by those currently in power. What's that quote from that Falcon Shield song again?
With great power comes great possibilities.
Possibilities indeed. And if you need proof of their power, then just look at Sion. After losing the best soldier he ever had, General Darkwill became desperate for a way to strike back at Demacia, and that's when he turned to the Black Rose in order for them to help him resurrect Sion. Allow me and my friend to reenact the conversation. The Grand General puts on a brave face, but he takes this loss harder than he lets on. With his most trusted supporter dead, he feels the treacherous eyes of his generals on his back. A successor must be chosen. Demacia's shaken. We can't squander this opportunity. Darkwill sees assassins in every shadow. He is paralyzed by fear.
No, he's stalling.
Darkwill did not become the Grand General by being a coward. Find out why.
Darkwill's thralls are searching for something, snatching up articles of the arcane, rituals of blood and bone, relics of the Shadow Isles, and things darker still. He desires something we can offer. An interesting opportunity.
I will bend his ear. If he is receptive, ensure we can provide what we promise.
What did you do?
Provided you with what you desired, nothing more.
This is not what I desired.
You sought to raise this corpse to do your bidding once again. In that, we have succeeded.
Look at him! This thing has no place at the head of an army.
Not as a leader, no, but your friend was never so much a leader as a killer, and he has never been more perfectly suited to that role than he is now. He does not fear, he does not question, he does not die.
Damn you. I have no other choice.
I haven't had the pleasure of your company for some time, Grand General.
You have my favor. That is enough.
And yet, I suspect you're here to seek the Black Rose's assistance once more.
The blood of the Demacian prince. How much remains?
After the last charade, enough that you should be very mindful of how you use it. Whatever you intend had best be brief.
No chicanery this time. My need for subtlety is nearing its end. I must secure my position with bloodshed, and that requires a blunt instrument.
It sounds as if you have one in mind.
Let me show you. The Black Rose is powerful enough to resurrect someone from the dead. They can give life. Of course, Aatrox is going to have great use of these people, which is where Sion comes in. What if Aatrox explained his plan to these powerful mages and entrusted the Noxian Darkin spirit to them so they can seek a suitable vessel? In turn, when the time comes and all of the Darkin have been revived, Aatrox will help the Black Rose regain control of Noxus once more. Thus, the Black Rose devoted themselves to serving Aatrox's agenda and found a suitable vessel. Sion may have been revived, but he wasn't the same war leader as before. As LeBlanc said earlier,
Not as a leader, no, but your friend was never so much a leader as a killer, and he has never been more perfectly suited to that role than he is now.
this sounds almost intentional. As if she could have brought Sion back to his normal self, or at least closer to that than the current Sion, but didn't. What if she purposefully did this to serve her other agenda, to make the vessel easier for the Darkin spirit to take over? After all, he does not fear, he does not question, and doesn't die. He has almost no control over his mind, thus he does not question. But he knows he's powerful, thus he does not fear. And now he doesn't die. Maybe an effect of the Darkin spirit? I can't say, but I thought I'd throw that question out there. Point is, Sion is perfect for a Darkin spirit to use as a vessel. However, Darkwill trapped the revived Sion in his own monument because Sion was too powerful for him to control. He had an extreme bloodlust that led him to turn onto his own men as well as Demacian soldiers. Sion is also responsible for nearly as many casualties among our forces as the Demacians. That thing seems to feast on the very act of slaughter. You don't say. Sion seems to be killing people left and right just for the sake of killing. Doesn't that just fit in perfectly with this theory? With the Darkin spirit slowly gaining full control over Sion's mind, it can command Sion to kill for the sake of bloodshed, fueling it even more. Also, Sion's lore is an entire monologue, which sounds like he is gaining more bloodlust as his time trapped in the monument grows, saying lines such as,
Blood. Smell it. Want. Aching. Need. I still smell the blood. Battle. It brings comfort.
this is a perfect opportunity for the Darkin spirit. A vessel that can kill by just demanding it, and is void of emotions like fear. Sion couldn't be controlled by Darkwill because the Darkin is more powerful. However, there seems to be a thorn in the Darkin's side. Swain seems to be able to control Sion better than Darkwill ever could. According to Sion, and I'm not gonna voice him again, that shit hurts my throat. I see him, the Grand General, my general. He leads. I follow. He is hobbled, a leg wound from the battle. If it pains him, he does not show it. A true Noxian. If Sion can remain obedient to Swain, then this would halt the plans of the Darkin as well as the Black Rose. And there you have it. Sion is the Noxian Darkin vessel. In theory, of course. We all know that I'm just having fun with this. But are you ready for something that's way too much of a stretch to be plausible? We covered our 4 Darkin candidates as well as 4 regions of Runeterra, which only leaves Aatrox and Shurima? What? That can't be it. Like, how on Runeterra can that be possible? If we're playing by the rules of my theory, then there would have had to be a massive amount of bloodshed and a vessel ready to revive Aatrox's spirit. But there wasn't anything like that in Shurima's history, right?
I stand at the brink of infinity.
Zareth, the time of your judgment has come.
Perhaps Shurima was meant to fall.
What if Aatrox's spirit was revived after the explosion that destroyed all of Shurima? It's the conclusion that makes the most sense within the rules of the theory. After all, practically the entire nation was wiped out in a blast. All of those innocent civilians just wiped away in an instant. And from those ashes rose Aatrox's spirit. As for the vessel, well, as we learned from Sivir and Talia, they were survivors of the fall of Shurima. What if one of these survivors returned to their former home, upset and enraged at the current state of Shurima, divided into small tribes, and overrun with tomb raiders looking to become rich off of Shurima's history? Then, Aatrox's spirit overtook the survivor and granted it power. The survivor probably went on to defend Shurima's history from being invaded by tomb raiders. Over time, Aatrox's spirit took over the survivor completely. This would explain Aatrox's sightings in Shurima, since that is where he was born. In the theory, of course. But wait a minute. I mentioned earlier that I would talk about how a Tryndamere is included in all of this. Well, I decided to group my Tryndamere proposal with this one because I'm not too confident about this one either. But here goes. In Tryndamere's lore, we learn that Tryndamere and his men were ambushed by raiders who were accompanied by Aatrox. Although his men were able to hold them off, Aatrox ensured that Tryndamere was the only survivor of the attack. It's important to know that although Aatrox is referenced as a shadowy figure, we can confirm that it is him thanks to this line. He wielded a cruel, living sword, and inspired an unhinged bloodlust in the invaders with his unearthly magic. That is a word-per-word description of Aatrox's power. From this battle, Tryndamere realized his new power, Undying Rage. Yeah, that ultimate that we all know and love, you can thank Aatrox for that. Tryndamere saw death and destruction engulf his home as his life slipped away. No one was left standing. Only the screams of the dying remained. Unable to surrender to death, Tryndamere gave in fully to his wrath. His blood boiled, and his anger consumed him. Banishing his mortality, he staggered to his feet, barely able to take a hold of his sword, steeling himself from a decisive confrontation with the shadowy figure. It's theorized that Aatrox probably gave Tryndamere the power of the Darkin so he can become one. My issue with this is that I don't think Aatrox can give life like that. What I mean is, I don't think he can create other Darkin. This will make Aatrox akin to a god, which I doubt he is. So what did he do? Well, as the gears in my head began to spin out of control, I remembered a quote from Bran.
This body is just one of many.
Aatrox is ancient. He's had this body since the earliest war from Runeterra. What if he's trying to pull some Orochimaru type stuff and is preparing a new vessel for himself? What if he thought Tryndamere was worthy enough so he placed a part of his own darkened soul in him, corrupting Tryndamere so that he can be ready for when Aatrox needs to move on? Now I know what you're thinking. That's way too much of a stretch. And you're fucking right. There's no going around it. This is way too much of a stretch to be plausible. But I promised to give you something, and my mind couldn't help but lead me to these conclusions. Remember when I said I wasn't entirely confident with my theory? This part, along with Jack's, is where that uncertainty resides. But I think I made an engaging theory, and I'm proud of this video. Oh wait, I didn't teach you guys anything about psychology yet. Blood, Aatrox, paraphilias. Okay, yeah. How about I teach you a quick fact about paraphilias? Paraphilias are abnormal sexual desires that can involve rather extreme or dangerous activities. You know, fetishes. The list of paraphilias is massive, but some can be a bit extreme. For example, hematolagnia, or hematolagnia. I think it's hematolagnia. Yes, this is an attraction to drinking or looking at blood. Also, what really gets them going is when they see blood on their partner. Huh, I guess Aatrox has something to talk about with Vlad the next time he visits Noxus. Who'd have thought, huh? I definitely psyched you out there. Get used to it, cause this is my new catchphrase. Well, my two-part series on the Aatrox Darkin theory is finally over. I had such a fun time theorizing, but I'm kinda disappointed I couldn't be entirely confident with my theory. Oh well. Maybe I'll just leave that type of stuff to Necrit. I hear he's really good with theories and lore. Maybe we could collaborate one day? YouTube goals, man. Never losing sight of them. Anyways, I gotta... You know, I was gonna allude to the topic of the next video like I always do at the end, but I forgot what I was gonna say.